One of the biggest questions I get most frequently asked is, how do I sharpen a knife and what do I use to sharpen a knife? What stones, what grinders, all that stuff. And that really can be somewhat of a complicated question, and I always answer it generally the same. The first thing you have to have a good knife is a good knife. You can have the greatest sharpening equipment in the world, and if you buy a knife with the wrong edge geometry and the wrong steel and the wrong heat treat and all that, you know, you're gonna have a very difficult time getting the edge that you're probably looking for. Assuming you have the right knife, and hopefully it's one of ours, it gets into what you actually use for sharpening. There's a lot of different stuff out there. There's belt grinders, electric grinders, different varying models of those. There's whetstones that can come in the form of an oil stone, can come in the form of a water stone, and then there's diamond stones. And I would really say there's a lot of great stones out there in all of those. I really don't think there's necessarily a must go, you must go diamond or you must go with an oil stone. I really do like an oil stone. A water stone tends to be a little bit softer, can be a great stone at those high grits when you're finishing, maybe finishing a chef's knife with a really high polished edge. I even in my chef's knives, I really prefer to have a little toothier edge, which means a little more of a barbed edge. That edge really tends to bite, tends to be aggressive, whether it's hide or hair or meat. And so that's where I'm not necessarily looking for the crazy high grit. There's a few stones that I really do like though, and we carry this one on our website. It's by Worksharp. This is called a combination stone. And you've got a combination of grits. This side is 1,000 grit. This side is actually 6,000 grit. The reason I like this is it can kind of do both things for you. You can sharpen your hunting knife on this side and never really need this side here. But if you want to sharpen your chef's knife on this side and maybe you want to finish it with a little higher grit, this 6,000 grit side is really fine, puts a really nice fine edge. This is a stone though you use with water. You just fill up this little tray in this Worksharp holder here. And the other thing that's kind of nice for a lot of people is I get, what is the right angle to sharpen a blade at? I generally tell people they really do worry too much about the angle. 15 to 20 degrees. Generally a slighter angle like a 12 to 15 for a chef's knife. And a steeper angle for a knife that might be hitting bone or being chopped into wood, you know, at like 20 degrees. The great thing is it's got these little deals here. You can flip this back and forth and it actually sets the angle of the blade right here like so you can actually know you've got 15 degrees. The other side of these is 17, which I think is a really nice middle ground of an angle. That 15 to 20, 17 to me is perfect. And that'll really do about everything. One of the biggest things to consider with a stone is the weight. And the reason I say that is this bench stone here works great at home in your garage or in your workshop area, in your kitchen. It's just staying at home, you're not traveling with it. But if you're going out in the field, like most of our customers are, you're using your knives, you're climbing up mountains, you're going on long pack trips, you don't want to take a lot of weight. Worksharp has a nice little stone here. Again, it's kind of a combination of a lot of different things. It's got diamond plates on it, so it doesn't take water, it doesn't take oil, you can run this dry. And again, it's got the guide. This one has actually got 20-degree guides on the side here. And it's got a coarser side if you really need to get after some work, which with our knives, I really don't think that's necessary on this side. What's great here is you're only just doing touch-ups. You're halfway through an animal, maybe it's lagging a little bit, you want to touch it up. You grab this out, you can just hold this, and you can just basically strop your knife on this stone and do a quick little 2 or 3 passes aside and it's back to work. It also has a leather piece right here where you can actually strop your blade and take that burr off. Look at our actual how-to sharpen video. When I talk about the burr, you should be trying to get a burr when you sharpen. Lastly, again, if you really want to get after stropping, it's got a ceramic piece back here. This knob spins. You can actually do fish hooks and serrations and stuff like that back there. It's not a side that I find myself using very often, but for those of you that like a really fine edge, you can use that. So these are just a couple of the stones that I suggest. I'm not really a big fan of the belt grinder sharpeners. I know a lot of people are, but that's generally because they're using it on a knife they can't sharpen on a stone. What that probably tells me is that the edge is too thick. It's really, really heavy. That blade really either needs reground or should have been ground correctly in the first place. I would suggest when you sharpen our knives so much that it's getting to that point, that you ship it back to us and we'll do the belt grinder sharpening for you. The belt grinder sharpeners tend to take way too much steel off on a real fine edge like this knife. This just needs a couple passes on a stone and you're right back to being sharp. So I really encourage you not to just go to grinding on these knives, especially our brand new MKC knives. They're already so thin that you're just gonna grind away really useful life out of your blade and it's gonna wear out faster. So again, check out the bench stones. A really perfect scenario would be to have a bench stone at home for that heavier work. You get home from a hunt, spend that time, sharpen that blade up, and then go into the field. And quite frankly, all I do is I take the plate off of this and I just pack that little plate in my pack. That's all I take in the field with me and I leave all this extra home. I figure if I'm gonna need that plate, it's just for a little touch up. Again, we sharpen our knives. If it's an MKC knife, we sharpen them for life. So if you get to a situation where you're just really struggling to get that edge right, send it back to us and we'll sharpen it and send it back to you.